So Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is the talk of the town, as it should be. Elden Ring is one of the greatest games ever made. I have over 800 hours clocked into this video game. If you have not played Elden Ring or had never had the chance, you guys should absolutely go out and buy this game and play it, because the DLC comes out in just a couple of days and the review embargo just now lifted. The only way that you're going to be able to get into the DLC is by beating the boss Mohg. If you're at least level 80 to 100, you can probably defeat him, maybe with a summon or two, or if you're cheap and want to use the Mimic Tier Ashes, you can do that. But that is the only way to access the DLC. The best way for you to get there is to do White Mask Vari's quest line, get that little cloth dipped in Maiden's blood so that you can get to Mohg's palace early on, beat him, and get access to the DLC if you're brave. I know that I've done this several times by now. I'm all set to go. But anyway, the reviews have come out for this game, and some of them are written pretty well. It's not a surprise that most gaming outlets are praising this game. However, one gaming outlet in particular has decided that it is far more important that they get their personal grievances about gamers, victim mentality, misogyny, racism, and homophobia. They decided that that is more important to put in the first part of their review rather than just talking about how good the game is. And wouldn't you know it, it's Kotaku, our best friend Kotaku, who is all for gamers. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree review, massive, menacing, and magnificent. This is of course by Alyssa Mercante, the senior editor of Kotaku, who has been on a rampage against gamers and hates white males and believes that you can't be racist to white people because white people are in power institutionally. This stuff is absolutely insane. This is the same person that went onto a podcast and threatened to fight a bunch of YouTubers, only to back down when YouTubers actually responded with a yes, okay, I'll fight you for charity. That person got scared and went offline. They repeatedly go off the grid and block people left and right. I was blocked before I even started reporting on Alyssa Mercante because of the fear that Alyssa has for so many YouTubers out there. But you gotta see the things that Alyssa is saying. She has a lot to say about middle-aged men, misogyny, and homophobia, and it is in the first few paragraphs of this review. Hours into playing Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, the massive singular expansion for From Software's award-winning 2022 action RPG, I realize it's paralleling my real life. Oh, I'm sure it is, Alyssa. No better strategy than using the hype of Elden Ring to point out how much you hate middle-aged male gamers. Until Elden Ring, I avoided Souls-likes, so Alyssa does not even play Souls-like games. Their punishing difficulty and rigid boundaries frustrated me immensely. I hit a wall in Dark Souls Remastered and gave up. Wow, amazing. Barely touched Bloodborne. That is criminal not to touch Bloodborne. That's literally one of the best games ever made. And avoided Sekiro like it was a poison swamp. Sekiro, you haven't even played Sekiro? That is just absolutely maddening. But this is what she's focused on. In the real world, I have mostly avoided the ire of homophobes and misogynists in the games industry, writing an article that temporarily shakes them up before fading into relative obscurity. Once Reddit refreshes, well, you know, I have to give her a little bit of credit for at least coming clean to the fact that the only reason she writes such controversial nonsense is so that she can get a rise out of people, not because she actually wants to inform gamers of what's going on in the industry. But now I am willingly subjecting myself to arduous adventure, running headfirst into a proverbial wall just to shake it off, back up, and run into it again. Outside of the lands between and the Shadow Realm, I have spent nearly 4 months as the subject of a near endless harassment campaign. It feels at times like logging on for a day of work is akin to walking through a boss door over and over again. Let me remind you guys that this is the person who aided Chris Kindred and other Sweet Baby Inc. defenders in trying to cancel Cabrutus Rambo and his Sweet Baby Inc. Detected Curator page, which as of this moment has over 400,000 members. Those 400,000 members that Alyssa tried to insult and omit very important facts about when trying to write a hit piece about them. Ash Parrish from The Verge also did the exact same thing. She actually called those 400,000 people Nazis, but at least Ash Parrish has the decency to write a review about Shadow of the Erdtree without inserting any of her political nonsense in here about how much she hates white male gamers and how everybody in the Cabrutus page is a racist, extremist right-winger. She did not have the nerve to try and insult a bunch of middle-aged men in her review like Alyssa Mercante appears to be doing in this review, because not every game journalist out there is this stupid. I will tell you that a lot of journalists out there are stupid and they write a bunch of stupid things all of the time, but rarely will you see a reporter as dense-brained as this one. A person who can't help but put her own grievances on a public news outlet website review about a video game that is anticipated by probably mostly middle-aged men, who are the demographic that she is slamming in this review. Believe it or not, she does happen to go on. Before I even make that connection between my real world and FromSoft's game world, I subconsciously attack Shadow the Erdtree with dogged determination. By the way, guys, don't worry, I'm not going to read her entire review because the rest of the review is her just talking about the game. Now, she does talk about how bad she is at the game by using Moonveil and voicing her frustration about how she can't use summons to be able to win the game. So it's not like she's very good. She does give a review about how pretty and amazing the game is, but who wouldn't? It would be stupid not to, since it's one of the best games ever. And this DLC has been highly anticipated. From Software is known for pushing out good game content, so just because Kotaku writes a good review about it means nothing to me, because Kotaku has been trying to stay relevant this entire time by trying to push a controversial debate about how gamers are the problem and not the corporations who are pushing a bunch of DEI down the pipeline and down our throats. But yeah, she goes on, as if besting a boss would bleed into my everyday and imbue me with a higher tier of self-confidence, much like how it feels to receive near endless hate comments from anonymous accounts. Or angry, middle-aged men. I faced Shadow the Erdtree entirely alone. No multiplayer summons would work for me in early access. A feature that she says she relied on in the base game, so she could not get through parts of Elden Ring without summons because some people just can't play these games or handle them. I'm not surprised that Alyssa Mercante can't handle this game. Not surprised at all. So I faced it solo, and after almost 20 hours came out, as Renala says, born anew. So from what I'm hearing, this game is a lot longer than 20 hours, so she didn't even beat it. Okay, I've got YouTubers here that I've been watching for a while, Ouroboros and Smotown. They actually beat the DLC. I'm pretty sure they got through all of it. A couple of them got review codes. It's funny because these are not industry pundits, these two, Smotown and Ouroboros, as well as Iron Pineapple. He apparently also got a review code for this game. Ziostorm, who reports daily almost on Elden Ring, did not get a review code for it, which I found kind of ridiculous because Kotaku gets these review codes, and Kotaku is a trash journalist website. I'm not sure if Bandai Namco or FromSoft knows that that's the case, that the people who write for Kotaku are some of the most insane people you've ever met, but that is the case. I do find it frustrating that Ziostorm, who's been reporting on it for years and years, cannot even get his hands on this thing, but people who haven't even touched Elden Ring for 2 years since it came out, including Ash Parrish and Alyssa Mercante, they get review codes. Even though they don't play these games, they don't care about these games, they don't ever talk about these games. I haven't seen an Elden Ring story from Kotaku in quite some time. Even Ash Parrish, in her article, she admits that she used Mimic Tier Ashes in order to beat this. This means that you can summon an NPC that is wearing all of your gear. It's basically you and what you're wearing in that current moment. So if you level that Mimic Tier Ash all the way up, it gives you a significant advantage in boss fights. The problem is that Mimic Tier Ashes and the Moonveil Katana are looked down upon by the Elden Ring community as either being cheap ways of beating the game or just not being very good in the long run, but being very useful earlier on. I'm one of those people who uses Moonveil earlier on some of my builds, but you can't really take it through the entire game because it becomes a little bit useless compared to other weapons as you go along. The same can be said for Mimic Tier Ashes. It's a lot of fun to be able to use it and have an advantage in a boss fight, but if you want to be taken seriously as an Elden Ring player, taking that thing through the entire game without trying to defeat the boss by yourself can be seen as a little bit cheap by players. It's just something that happens. That's the Elden Ring community for you. I don't blame them for thinking that way. It's just the way that it is. But I think it's crazy that she compares what's happening in this game to her real life. Her comparisons are also very jarring. Besting a boss would bleed into my everyday and imbue me with a higher tier of self-confidence. Like, what does that even mean? Much like how it feels to receive near endless hate comments from anonymous accounts or angry middle-aged men. I mean, that's just insane to say. What is the main demographic for this game? Probably middle-aged men, people who have stuck with this game series for years and years. Most of the popular YouTubers who talk about Elden Ring all the time are in their 30s. That's just reality. The people that Alyssa Mercante cannot help but attack in her article. This part right here is really funny, but that flickering firelight memory of beating the dang boss urges me forward, filling me with hope. This is going to be hard, but I can do this. I will carry that mantra long after I leave the realm of shadow. This is going to be hard, but I can do this. Because when she says this, she basically gives herself a pat on the back. When she points out that one part that she wrote in her article, I didn't plan on writing about what's going on. Gamergate 2.0 and the endless harassment when reviewing Shadow of the Erdtree, but walking through the same boss door for nearly 3 hours just to get repeatedly mollywopped felt a lot like logging on for work. And then she posts that little tidbit of what she wrote in the article, but that flickering, she's just comparing everything she's doing in this game to all of the terror that she experiences in real life. She is the one who is going and calling people's wives, calling those people's jobs, trying to get them fired. Alyssa Mercante has already stated on multiple occasions that she both does not like middle-aged white males, that she thinks gamers are annoying and goes out of her way to annoy them, and has gleefully admitted and even encouraged people to try and get people canceled on numerous occasions. And then she tries to deny that any of that happened while posting a bunch of half-naked pictures of herself on social media. That is Alyssa Mercante, the senior editor of Kotaku. Again, something that is very important to point out here. She is the only one that I have seen out of all of these outlets reporting on the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC as a review. The only person that posts anything about Gamergate 2.0 or posts about how much she does not like middle-aged males, none of that is in the Verge article, which is really surprising since it comes from Ash Parrish, who has done the same thing that Alyssa Mercante has done in the past. She didn't even have the gonads to do it. Guess who else didn't have the nerve to do that? PC Gamer. They just posted their review. I read that entire review. I know what is said in here, and they just posted a review. Same thing with Eurogamer. Same exact thing. Just a normal review, no Gamergate nonsense. Guess who else? I know it's really shocking, but The Gamer as well. The Gamer themselves, they just posted a normal review, no Gamergate nonsense in it. Even IGN did the exact same thing. They just posted a normal review. No Gamergate nonsense. The only person to do it is Alyssa Mercante. Because Alyssa Mercante and Kotaku, they're not real journalists. It's not a real gaming website. Why is Bandai Namco giving review codes to Kotaku when all they are interested in is allowing Alyssa Mercante to keep them afloat with controversial posts that do nothing but attack normal, everyday, innocent people that have done nothing wrong, that just don't want DEI in video games? She is attacking all of those people and defending the very people who are on a cancel campaign against normal gamers. Again, I'm not sure if they know. Meanwhile, you have Ziostorm, a guy who has been reporting on Elden Ring for years, a guy whose content I watch. He doesn't get a review code. The claim out there is that only industry pundits, only outlets are able to get review copies, but that's not true since Ouroboros and Smotown, and from what I'm seeing, Iron Pineapple got review codes. Ziostorm is not. But Kotaku, people who aren't even playing the game, who aren't even interested in game, who spend every single day finding reasons to attack game developers and normal people, they get review copies of one of the most anticipated video games on the market? That doesn't make any sense to me, but Ziostorm gets jack squat? These people really need to reevaluate their priorities, okay? Bandai Namco, From Software, all of you game developers out there who actually want positive reception on your video game and want people to speak positively about your game, you need to start giving your review codes to people who aren't so hell-bent on getting their personal views on paper for all to see, so that you don't have your game tarnished by this nonsense. And I mean that without being punny. All right, I really do. These people writing reviews for these games that are so locked into all of the online discourse that they have perpetrated themselves mostly about 85% of the time, these people are doing you no favors. You need to stop giving review codes to these morons who are not journalists and they're just bloggers who use these games and the hype surrounding these games and the fan bases that love them to prop themselves up and to push their nonsensical, ridiculous views onto the rest of the world. Elden Ring is probably going to be one of the most successful DLCs to ever release. People are loving it. I'm probably going to love it. I know I'm going to love it because I love anything that is part of the Souls franchise. But in the midst of all these layoffs and the gaming industry just being in absolute peril, and gaming journalism basically being dead, there needs to be some serious reform in the industry. You guys need to start sending your stuff out to people that actually care about these games, because these people on this side of the argument who are calling everybody a misogynist, racist, bigot, and whatnot, no matter what, and just posting lies every single day, those people are going to mess your momentum up. And that is 100% my opinion on the matter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have not had the chance to like it and share it with your friends, that would be awesome. And hey, if you're feeling ultra spicy, consider subscribing to my channel so that you're always up to date on what kind of thing I've got going on. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Later. Meow meow.